What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Dirty Bird Fly Through and happy Victory Tuesday. Happy Victory Tuesday. And one of the, sweetest victories I think the Atlanta Falcons have had in quite a while, winning 24 to 14 over the Buffalo Bills on Monday Night Football last night in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, winning in front of the home crowd, wearing the red helmets, the Diamond Field celebrating 60 seasons of Falcons football, and it is capped off with, I truly think, what is the statement win for this young, rising, ascending, as I heard someone say this morning, Falcons team. And this is a win that we're going to talk about a lot, but this is a win I say more than anything. It puts you on the map. It can change the trajectory of your team. We already saw that the Falcons had a lot of promise. They had a lot of talent. Even heading into this season, there was a lot of promise, a lot of talent. However, you got to get these big wins. You got to do it against the best if you really want to be there at the end. And the Falcons last night got one of, no doubt, I mean, this was the best team the Falcons are going to face all season in the Buffalo Bills. At least heading into it before the year, when everyone looked at the schedule, that Buffalo game stuck out more than really any other game. And for the Falcons to come out and win that game is obviously, it's very big, and it's going to give an amazing amount of potential to grow off of. So, talking about the game, and we got to start off with the defense. Okay, there's a lot of things to talk about, but we got to start off with this defense. We know the history of the Atlanta Falcons defense. We know that the Falcons have been known for having one of the worst defenses in the NFL, really for, I think, as long as everyone can remember. From the Matt Ryan era, and Matt Ryan, basically being robbed of, you can say, multiple Lombardi trophies and the Falcons during that period of time, because we did not have defenses that could get stops. We did not have defenses that could go out there and make those critical plays late in the game and hold up after the offense had put in a great day. We even have seen it. We saw it last year. The Falcons defense under Jimmy Lake, they looked really out of place, really out of sorts. They were definitely one of the contributing reasons why we blew a 6-3 start to the season. We didn't make the playoffs. And when the Falcons hired Jeff Ulbrich, there were a lot of questions about, really, was this the right hire considering he had been here before? We are seeing through 6 games that the Falcons hit a home run on the Jeff Ulbrich hire. He has these guys attacking up front. The coverage is amazing on the back end. This Falcons defense showed up to play last night, and this was a very big statement for the Falcons. The Falcons entered this game with the number one defense in the NFL coming off their bye week. It was going to be a very big question of, could the rust a bye week has on you, especially it being this early, could that potentially take a toll? After 15 days, could there be some complacency from the Falcons, being at home? How is this defense going to come out? Is this really a top defense? We saw that this Falcons defense was able to back up every single one of its stats. It was able to back up that number one defensive accomplishment that they have achieved so far through 6 weeks in this season. They attacked Josh Allen all night. 4 sacks, 2 interceptions, held them to only 14 points. And listen, all those points came from the opening drives of each half, and after that, the Falcons defense was able to clamp down. They were able to play a full 60 minutes. They were able to get stop after stop after stop in the fourth quarter, and that's what needs to be talked about. The Falcons defense, when the offense, we could clearly see, was a little more lethargic in the second half, was not able to really get much going, was not able to get points on the board. This defense came out, they held up their end, they were able to put the Falcons in a position to win. Now, the other big story of the game is number 7, is Bijan Robinson. He had a career night last night, 238 yards from scrimmage, a touchdown, his career long 81-yard touchdown run, that his signature run so far of his career. And I'm telling y'all right now, when they do the NFL honors right before the Super Bowl and Bijan is up for an award, that run is going to be played right before he wins Offensive Player of the Year. And forget Offensive Player of the Year for a moment. Bijan Robinson, I would say early on, with the performance that he has had, the contribution that he has given to the Falcons, and how critical he is to the success of the Atlanta Falcons, is in the running for the most valuable player award. He's in the running for MVP early. I think we got to remember, the award is most valuable player. It's not quarterback of the best team. It's not, who has the most touchdowns or the most passing yards. It is who is most critical to their team's success. And Bijan Robinson has been proven to be absolutely critical to the Falcons' success so far early. He is definitely where it starts and ends on offense. He is he's the mix, he's the dough, he's the syrup, he's all of it. It is where it starts, it ends. He gives you the flavor. He opens everything up because when Bijan is out there and you have to account for him, that then allows a Drake London, who had a very big night last night, to go off. That can allow a Kyle Pitts at times, who did not have a big night last night, but still, we have seen Kyle Pitts show up this season in spots to go off. Bijan opens everything up on this offense, and then it also allows Tyler Algier late in the game when you need him to also beat up on the defense. So, I really think that when you look at the performance of Bijan Robinson tonight, or last night, it has truly, I think, it has absolutely, I think, propelled the Falcons into serious conversations for the first time really in years, with obviously a young quarterback, with a lot of young weapons. I truly think, I'm going to talk about it in a second, that the potential could be off the charts, and it starts with Bijan Robinson. So yes, based off that performance last night, that career performance we saw from Bijan Robinson last night, I truly think you have to put him in the MVP conversation early. Now, talking more so just about the general offensive play calling, because I was talking about how Bijan Robinson and the ability and how you have to essentially account for him. It's going to cause defenses to really not know where the ball could go. And we saw last night Zach Robinson, who, has gotten a lot of slack, but it really feels like ever since he's moved down to the field, you have seen a noticeable difference. Things look to be flowing more with this offense. And look, I got to talk about it. The Bills fans took over Mercedes-Benz Stadium last night, and we cannot let that happen. If we're going to start winning games, we got to show up for this team. And we know those Bills fans travel very well. The Falcons had to be in a silent count on offense last night, and that's absolutely embarrassing. But we still saw them thrive even in the midst of all the blue that was invading the bins last night. We saw the Falcons come out. We saw what I really love to see. We saw, I think, a lot of motions. That motion that they did a lot with Bijan, where he would swing around in the backfield. They did it with Tyler Algier some. And they really built off of it. That was adding layers and adding wrinkles into it. You saw some screen passes off of it. You saw some play action off of it. It's everything we've been talking about. Building off of the pistol formation. And when you're able to do that, it can create a lot of opportunities for this Falcons offense. So you got to give it up for Zach Robinson. Michael Penix, as far as it goes for him last night, 20 for 32, 250 yards, a touchdown pass to Drake London. The only thing I will say about Michael Penix last night is he had a very bad throw in that fourth quarter that I feel like would have been a pick six, probably should have been a pick six, and that would have flipped the game completely upside down. But luckily it was not. And sometimes when it's your game, things are gonna go your way, and we saw that for the Falcons. Some things went their way, and they were able to win the game last night. Really, starting with their running game, but still, Michael Penix, really outside of a few questionable throws where he was trying to fit the ball in, which I think the thing we do see with Michael Penix so far, and of course, this is the carousel of developing a young quarterback. It feels like he takes risks when he shouldn't, and when he is supposed to take risks, he doesn't. So you definitely want to be more calculated with that. But listen, Michael Penix, I truly feel like we are seeing this year be, still kind of a developmental year for Michael Penix. Even though I do feel like, considering he is a young quarterback, he feels more polished. There's still some things you got to develop, some timing of things, making better decisions. I truly feel like this year, is it's going to obviously be heavy on the run game. It's going to be heavy on Bijan Robinson, but we're still, going to see Michael Penix. I feel like throwing the ball around. I think next year we're going to see a more polished Michael Penix making better decisions. And I even, as the season goes on and we get later into this season, I definitely think we will see a better version of Michael Penix. But as of right now, obviously Bijan Robinson, as we know, is critical to the success of the Falcons offense. But look, Michael Penix at the end of the day, he did not turn the ball over last night. He put the ball in some dangerous positions. You got to clean that up. But we are seeing that, this is finally a quarterback that you can build with. You can win with, I believe. We have now seen Michael Penix win some big games. This obviously being his biggest win yet as a Falcons quarterback, but we are seeing the Falcons now win these big games, and that is absolutely critical. So, give props to Zach Robinson for calling what I thought was a pretty great game last night on offense. Also, we gave a lot of credit to Ulbrich, but you got to give credit to Zach Robinson also. Now, talking about more so heading into really what are the Falcons going to do for the second straight game. The Falcons, we saw, control the game in the second half. A lot of it contributed to the defense, of course. The defense is, I really think, what allowed the Falcons to keep control of this game in the second half, of course. Obviously, they deserve all the praise in the world that can be held. But I truly believe that when you look at what the Falcons offense should do late in the game, and we did see it, we saw the Falcons get the ball back with about 8 minutes left in the game. 6 or 8 minutes left. It was somewhere around there. We saw them take the ball all the way downfield. We saw them, put together a drive, run the clock down, and then kick a field goal to go up by 10 with under 2 minutes left after the Bills had burned all their timeouts. When you do that, when you are capable of doing that, and, that has been one of the big concerns with the Falcons. Can they close out games? We're seeing so far this season, the Falcons, they are closing out these games. They're closing out these big games. I think this is a game that everyone would agree. Past Falcons teams certainly do not win. I think that is what makes this team different. We are seeing them close out games. We're seeing them put together these long drives at the end of games. We've seen it now back-to-back weeks where the Falcons have been able to deliver that knockout punch going up by 2 scores. And at that point, you're really dead if you look at it with no timeouts and under 2 minutes. So I think that all heads into what the identity of the Atlanta Falcons is, because I feel like that has been a very big question. What is the Falcons' identity at this point? The great teams in the NFL have an identity. The Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo has an identity. The Lions have an identity. Tampa Bay has an identity, obviously a Baker Mayfield. What is the Falcons' identity? And I finally feel like last night gave us that clear picture. We're going to get this thing started, and we're going to center it all around 7. We're going to go out. We're going to play great defense. We're not going to let you get anything in the second half. Then you're going to give us the ball back with about 7, 8, 9 minutes left. We're going to take it down. We're going to have a long drive. We're either going to punch it in for a touchdown or we're going to kick a short field goal. You're going to burn all your timeouts. We're going up by 2 scores. And at that point, the game is done. So it's really, we are just going to give you a slow death. That is the identity of the Atlanta Falcons through 6 weeks of the season. And we finally see a team that we know what they're going to do. We know the blueprint to winning. And that at the end of the day is how you're going to win more of these ball games. So we talk about it. You want to be there with the best of the best. You got to have your identity. You got to know what you're doing. The Falcons, they have their identity now. And as long as they stick to it, they are absolutely in great position to continue stacking these wins. So, just once again talking about, I truly think the sky being the limit. The Falcons now have the number one defense. They also have the number two offense in the NFL. If you're going to sit here and tell me that the Atlanta Falcons are not a serious team, you're going to sit here and tell me that they are not right there in the thick of things in the playoff race in the NFC, you're absolutely asinine. We know that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers have had a great start to the season. We know the NFC has a lot of competition. The Lions are there. The NFC West has 3 great teams, all 4-2. We're going to face one of them on Sunday night. The NFC North, it really feels like, every team is alive in that division. But the Falcons have already beaten the Vikings. You gotta beat these teams in the NFC now, but I truly think that what we have seen so far is that the sky is the limit for this Falcons team. Obviously, the stats are great, but they got to translate to wins. And we saw last night it translate to a win. Obviously, Bijan Robinson, once again, is what's going to stir everything for this offense. But this defense, it being number one, has absolutely been critical so far. And it's going to carry the Falcons a long way. And we are seeing that this is a Falcons team that is really capable of being there late in the season, playing meaningful football, and potentially into January also. If, and the key word is if, you keep this up, which so far, it is a ascending team. It is a team that will definitely get better. Now, obviously, just wrapping it all up, this was a momentum win. This was a momentum win for the Falcons. And obviously everything, I saw Terry Fontenot after the game. I saw him and Jeff Ulbrich embracing each other. Those are 2 guys that have been absolutely, obviously critical to the building of this team, the foundation of this 2025 team that we see, could have great potential. Terry Fontenot's vision, it finally feels like it's coming together. And we see it, I feel like, with these primetime performances. We see the vision of Terry Fontenot coming together and how he has built this team. We are seeing the work of Jeff Ulbrich. We're seeing the offense, really come together and, start to build consistency. We're seeing Raheem Morris essentially be able to just be a facilitator. I feel like that's where Raheem Morris is at his best, when he is able to just be a facilitator. He's able to overlook, both his coordinators are doing what they're supposed to do. That is where you are at. That is where Raheem Morris is at his best as a head coach. But this is also a momentum win, obviously, for the city. The Falcons, it's going to take big games like this, I feel like, to really get the city to buy back into this team. And obviously come out to these games now, whether it's Sunday, Monday, Thursday, whenever, to really start to come out repping the Falcons. We are finally seeing the Falcons put together performances the city can be proud of. A lot of Falcons fans now finally coming back out to support the team. You can say they're fair weather all you want, but they're coming out. They're supporting the team now. And then it also is going to energize a whole new generation of Falcons fans. So, this is a win. This is a signature win. It is a win you build off of. And, when you really look at, obviously, the conversations we were having after that loss to the Panthers, we really didn't know what this season was going to look like. And I still feel like you scratch your head about that loss to Carolina. But, could that loss potentially have been what this team needed to wake us up and fully realize what our potential is? And I still don't think the Falcons have reached their full potential. I don't. I think, especially on the offensive side of the ball, I feel like we are where we need to be on defense, and we need to continue to keep it up. I feel like, look, one of the big things has been the sacks. I feel like we're going to start to see the sacks come in even more ways. I feel like we're seeing James Pierce Jr. He's right there. Jalen Walker right there. Once those rookies start crashing in on you, it's going to be lights out for you because this defense is coming to play. And then, as far as the offense goes, we know what it's going to start and end with. So, this was a very big momentum win. This is one that you build off of, and now you got to continue to stack these victories and continue to build the momentum, because if you do that, who knows where you could be come January. So getting into these game balls, and the first game ball is of course going to go to number 7. It's going to Bijan Robinson. And I mean, it really speaks for itself, the performance that we saw, obviously. Out of Bijan Robinson, 19 carries, 170 yards, a touchdown. Obviously, that 81-yard run, 6 catches for 68 yards. He is on a 1,000 pace. He is on pace for one of the greatest seasons we've seen out of an offensive player in NFL history. It's just like the season Christian McCaffrey had with Carolina back in the day. So, Bijan, as long as he's out on the field, he's going to continue that historic pace. Next game ball, going to Drake London. 10 catches, 158 yards, a touchdown. An absolutely amazing first half. I will say, I feel like, obviously, hindsight's 2020, and that final play of the first half, and luckily that is not what we are talking about today. Obviously he came very close to getting that touchdown. I feel like he probably should have ran a different direction. He shouldn't have played it so close to the sidelines. If he was going to go for the touchdown, he should have stepped out of bounds. But still, he had a great night. Listen, and with the injuries that we saw from the Falcons, obviously at the wide receiver position, and I think it now begs, are the Falcons going to end up having to make a trade at wide receiver? Because as the trade deadline comes up, there's going to be names available, and I feel like the Falcons, you're going to have to make a trade before this deadline. I do feel like if you really want to be serious and you want to, continue, if you want to be there in January playing important football, you are definitely, I think, going to have to get a new face up in here. Obviously, Darnell Mooney could be coming back soon, but the injury that he has sustained, and really, I think, the uncertainty with him this early in the year, obviously you hope to have him back for the second half, but you are going to have to get another wide receiver. But for last night, we did see Drake London be the top target. Even, late in the game, we saw Michael Penix, he was putting the ball in some dangerous positions trying to get it to Drake London. So at the end of the day, we do know that 9 to 5, that's the new 2 to 11. That is the new big connection we have seen with a quarterback and wide receiver here in Atlanta. So big props to Drake London for another stellar performance in prime time. Next game ball, and this is someone who has gotten a lot of slack. So I'm really glad I get to give this game ball out. It's going to D. Alford, man. He player of the game on defense. He did everything. He got a sack, 6 tackles, the interception right before halftime. D. Alford, you really want to talk about the effect that Jeff Ulbrich has had on this defense. I saw last night, you see things differently at the game. D. Alford, as soon as he got that interception, he ran right over to Jeff Ulbrich, and Ulbrich, you could just tell, was talking him up. And it was coaching him up. And the work that Jeff Ulbrich and this defensive unit has done to D. Alford and really getting him right, you love to see it. Because this was a guy that, at the end of last year, He was getting burnt a lot in critical positions, and a lot of us did not want him on this team. But we have seen that Jeff Ulrich has been able to unlock that dog in D. Alford. He's going out there, he is playing tough, he's playing with heart, and you absolutely love to see it. And the final game ball goes to a guy that I really feel like is important to the success of this defense, really as much as anybody. That's Rukaroro, the guy in the middle. We saw him last night. He was in that backfield all night. He got a sack on Josh Allen. He was back there on many plays, disrupting Buffalo's offensive operation. And I said before the season, I even made a whole video on it. I said, there's going to be one guy on this defense that not a lot of people are talking about that's going to be an X factor to how good this defense is able to be. And that guy is Rukaroro. Obviously, with Grady Jarrett leaving, we had to have a guy to step up in the interior. That has been Rook so far. We have seen him step up. We have seen him make those plays. We are seeing him in the backfield. And once again, he is very critical to just how high this Falcons defense can soar. But he's going to continue to get better as a second-year player, and when he does that, we're going to see a Falcons defense that is going to continue to be one of the top in the NFL. And the final game ball, and I don't do this a whole lot. I got to give it to Jeff Ulbrich. The performance he was able to put together, the work he has done with this defense so far has been absolutely amazing. Everyone, praised Ryan Nielsen a couple years ago for, the defense that he had. But Jeff Ulbrich has the top defense in the NFL. And I'm going to, until proven otherwise, I am going to come on here every single week and give this guy his flowers. Obviously, you're not going to every game have 4 sacks and 2 interceptions, but this is now the second game this season the Falcons have had a performance like that. So, you got to give it up to Jeff Ulbrich, and man, just enjoy having him here as our defensive coordinator, coaching up this defense and the system he has implemented for these guys. But now, obviously, you got to continue to keep it up because the season is still, once again, only getting started, and you still have a lot of important games left. So, looking forward now. The Falcons, it is a short week. We head out west to San Francisco for another primetime matchup, Sunday Night Football at the 49ers. And this is going to be a very important game as far as the playoff race, I feel like, goes. Obviously, this win versus Buffalo, it was a very important momentum win. But this game versus San Francisco right here, it's going to be critical for your playoff race. Obviously, isn't as much of a must win now because you won versus Buffalo. Not necessarily. If you lose this game, is your season over? No. But, when you look back at this game in the end of the year, you could look back and say the result of this game determined a playoff spot. And at the end of the day, man, the Falcons know Kyle Shanahan. Kyle Shanahan, all these guys know each other. Raheem, Shanahan, Ulbrich, Robert Saleh, they all know how each other, work. They all know what they want to do. So it's going to definitely be a game that could go either way. But the Falcons are going to have another great opportunity. You just got to keep focused. And this is where you really hope the Falcons learn from that Carolina game. You got to keep focused. And if you do that, you're going to stand a great chance to get another victory on Sunday night. But we're going to talk about that game later in the week. Obviously, appreciate everyone for watching. Remember to like, remember to subscribe, remember to share out all the content. Appreciate all the support. Enjoy the rest of your Victory Tuesday. And we're going to keep it on pushing because the season's only getting started around here. So I will see you all in the next one.